At the time of his death in 2018, Joe Jackson, an American music manager, had a $500,000 net worth. The most well-known connection to Joe Jackson was as the father of several international pop stars, such as LaToya Jackson, Janet Jackson, and Michael Jackson. He oversaw the Jackson 5 as their manager. The Jackson 5 made history by becoming the first American group to reach the top of the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart with all 4 of their first singles. Childhood. On July 26, 1928, in Fountain Hill, Arkansas, Joe Jackson was born into a teaching family consisting of Crystal Lee and Samuel Joseph Jackson. Jackson, the eldest of 5 children, had a difficult upbringing and described his father as being extremely controlling and severe. Jackson supposedly had a solitary upbringing and few friends. When Jackson was 12 years old, his parents divorced, and his siblings followed their mother to East Chicago, Indiana. However, Joe relocated to Oakland, California, along with his father. When Joe was 18, his father remarried, and he moved to East Chicago to live with the rest of his family. He dropped out of high school. Early career and family. He was hired by the East Chicago-based Inland Steel Company. Joe decided to follow his dream of being a boxer here. Joe Jackson was training for a professional sports career after finding success with the Golden Gloves program. It was there that he met Catherine Screws, a nearby student at Washington High School, who was 17 years old. Even though he was already married at the time, he swiftly got his marriage dissolved so he could be with Catherine. After Jackson wed Catherine Screws in November 1949, the couple purchased a modest 2-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana, which served as their first residence. Maureen Rebbe Jackson was the first of their 10 children to be born. Catherine started working at Sears in Gary, Indiana, and Joe got a second job at the American Foundries in Chicago. Jackson and his brother Luther were playing guitar together in a band called the Falcons at this time. Jackson 5. In 1963, Jackson realized how talented their kids were musically, and he quickly made the transition to become the acting manager of the family group that would soon be known as the Jackson 5. Tito, Jermaine, and Jackie, the family's 3 eldest sons, were the ones with whom he initially worked. Michael and Marlon were eventually added, and the group began playing as the Jackson Brothers. They began by performing at high school events and local talent shows, but eventually Joe started booking them for more respectable locations, such as NYC's Apollo Theater. In November 1967, Gary's Steeltown Records president Gordon Keith signed the Jackson 5 to their first record deal. In 1968, the Jackson 5 released Big Boy, their debut single, which sadly didn't do too well. But the group did win an amateur night competition the next year, and in March 1969, their victory got them a record contract with Motown. After that, the Jackson 5 relocated to Los Angeles, where Joe attended every recording session that the group did for the Motown label. The group became well known after the release of I Want You Back, their debut Motown single. The group's first 3 albums were released after the song swiftly became the #1 hit. 3 other songs from 1970, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, also peaked at #1. Joe started his own record company, Ivory Tower International Records, in 1974. The musicians he signed to his label went on global tours as opening acts for the Jackson 5. In 1975, the Jackson 5 signed with Epic Records, leaving Motown Records behind. A few of the sons, including Michael and Jermaine, had signed deals to release solo albums, but they had already started to go their separate ways. When the group discovered that Motown president Berry Gordy had copyrighted the band's original name in the middle of the 1970s, they were forced to change their name to the Jacksons. In 1982, Joe launched his daughter Janet Jackson's career by getting her involved in film and as a recording studio, providing funding for the recording of her debut demo. Later, she became an A, despite the group's great success. Internal conflicts ultimately resulted in Joe Jackson's dismissal as manager. Later, Michael accused Joseph Jackson of abusing him. Some siblings admitted to the abuse, while others refuted it. Joseph Jackson made his sons practice for hours on end and booked them into progressively more prestigious locations until they were able to secure a seat at the famed Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York. Joe Jackson's wife Catherine publicly denounced him and filed for divorce twice after learning that another woman had fathered a child by him. However, she ultimately dropped both cases. Michael Jackson, Joe Jackson's son, came forward against his father in 1993 on The Oprah Winfrey Show. describing the physical and psychological abuse he had suffered at the hands of his father. The Jackson siblings disagreed on this matter. Unexpectedly, Michael Jackson passed away on June 25, 2009. Michael named his mother as the guardian of his 3 children in his last will and testament. There was nothing left over from Michael's estate for his father, Joseph. Joe Jackson, who was 89 years old, passed away on June 27, 2018, due to pancreatic cancer. Joe Jackson and his children have a complicated relationship with LaToya, Janet, and Michael. The way their father treated Michael, Janet, and LaToya caused them to have a strained relationship. But judging by how they turned out, it seemed to have worked. The late patriarch of the notorious Jackson family, Joseph Jackson, never felt regret for the treatment he gave his children, Michael, Janet, and LaToya. The 10-child father who had everything planned out for his children's future was seen by his children as being very controlling. Michael's father was a very cruel corporal punishmentist who even forbade his children from calling him dad. In response to a question concerning his relationship with them, he stated, "I'm glad I was tough, because look what I came out with. I came out with some kids that everybody loved all over the world." At the age of 89, Joe passed away from cancer in 2018. Michael Jackson's co-executors had some positive things to say about him. Together with his sons Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, Marlon, and Michael, the music mogul formed a musical group that became known as the Jackson 5. The 5 were well known all over the world. Michael's first taste of fame came from singing with the group. He was 5 years old when he joined his siblings as Jackson 5. Michael and his father did not get along well. Michael discussed both the good things his father had done for them and the bad things he had done for them before he passed away. He told Rabbi Shmuley Boteach the information over a series of conversations. Michael recalled a specific incident that he would never forget. His father had said to them, insensitively, "If you guys ever stop singing, I will drop you like a hot potato." Michael may have had a bad relationship with his father, but Janet appears to have had a better one. When she was 16, Joseph assisted in launching her singing career. She told about the time her father took her to pick up a Disney Radio Music Award. The Rhythm Nation singer claimed that although he only struck her once for being wrong, he was extremely tough and only saw things his way. Although LaToya Jackson did not achieve as much as her siblings, she left a lasting impression when she appeared on her brother's television program and provided backup vocals for Michael Jackson. In LaToya, growing up in the Jackson family, she wrote that she and one of her sisters had been sexually abused by her father. But afterwards, she regretted writing such a thing. She said that her parents raised them with the utmost care and did an excellent job.